folks in America, black folks and white folks and red folks and yellow folks, if we somehow put emphasis upon the Emancipation Proclamation and we talk about the institution of slavery and etc. And I'd like for you to sort of speak to that.
I do not feel that it's divisive. Every ethnic group that I know of has a special interest in his or her heritage. And this has been missing among the blacks in America. And I think the time has come when the pendulum, we must, as leaders in this community, make sure that this is done. When I look at the Constitution and I look at the Emancipation Proclamation, I get caught up. And I make a parallel between the Constitution and John 3:16. In that particular verse, it says, God so loved the world. But until you change that one word, world, it has little, it's just applauded. But when you say God so loved me, Marcel Keller, James Haney, Reverend Mitchell, it takes on a whole different meaning. So then when I look in that part that says all men were created equal, I am a man. And I refuse to take any, I refuse to allow myself to fall into the trap of, well, the founding fathers were not talking about black people. Not interested in that. The mere fact that I am a whole person, I take my stand, my rightful place to say that I am a part of this. I am a member of this Constitution. I'm sorry about your literary intent, but this is what my content is. And because I willfully force this, because I willfully become a part of the process, the political process that makes this a reality.
That's an excellent point. And I hope when people study history and they look at the history of the African American activities in the United States, even though for 200 years the African American community that was enslaved suffered one of the greatest indignities that's ever been heaped on one race of people by another race of people, you don't find African Americans protesting on the 4th of July. You've never found a protest by African American males of participating in any American war, even when they had the drudgery of that war. I think it's important that the world realize and that America realize that we are good citizens. We support our country. You've never found tax protests led by the African American community. You know, I think that other immigrant groups and other minority groups, additionally, that have supported the American cause, because we see this as a totality, the holistic approach, and the philosophical principles that the United States are built on are marvelous principles. I often tell my students, this is still the very best place in the world to live.
Very good. As a matter of fact, the conclusion of the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment brought about the 14th Amendment, and I think both of you have said something about citizenship. But let's look at that amendment, the 14th and 15th Amendment. Reverend Keller, what about the 14th Amendment and the Citizenship Amendment?
I think that making everyone a citizen means that everyone has to assume the response. If you want to enjoy the freedoms of this country, you must assume the responsibilities for this country. And that means every ethnic group. One cannot take the advantage of the other. One must realize he has a responsibility to government to try to make the best that we can. As Dr. Mitchell had said, this is still not perfect, but it's the best that man has been able to produce with his free will.
That's right.
And so this is what the way, and I think that all of us, and I like Jess's approach, rather than trying to put us all in a group, in a soup pot, we're more like a salad, where each particular participant, where each vegetable within the salad brings to that salad its own flavor. I do not want celery tasting like tomatoes. I want celery to taste like celery. And whatever the black ethnic group can bring to this, our spirituals, our preaching, our abilities to do, we want them brought and laid on the table and say to America, this is my contribution, and I expect on my contribution, I expect a yield on my return investment.
And gentlemen, I would imagine both of you would agree that the 15th Amendment that allowed black people to participate in the suffrage is also a very, very important amendment. But I would also like, over the last few minutes that we have here, to have both of you to speak to the 15th Amendment within the framework of recognizing that over the last election, very few people turned out to participate in the process. And to say something that perhaps as leaders of the education and religious community, what can we do to make people more aware of their responsibilities in these areas of citizenship as well as voter participation?
I think education has to be a key factor. I grimace and I flinch and I feel bad every time that I watch one young African American not exercise the right to vote, because within our community the importance of the 15th Amendment has lived on. It didn't end simply with passage. There were those who fought in the South to guarantee that right and risked their lives. And with other Americans, it was heartwarming to watch the people line up in Poland for days to exercise the right to vote, and then realize that here in America we have to encourage people. It's an important right. Your vote is always important. It's your way of making sure that America maintains the course. We simply got to begin. I think it's important too to begin to stress the voting and voting not at 18, but to begin to talk about it in the first and second grade, that every American person has not only the obligation but the responsibility to cast his or her vote.
Reverend Keller?
I think that when we look at this, and I want to address to the whole gamut, not just to the African American, I don't even want to say to the white American. Bad leadership comes from poor voters.
Right.
Bad leadership comes from poor citizenship. You get the type of leaders that you vote for. And if you don't vote, you have no qualms about the leadership that's running this country. And we must realize that all of us play a part through being absent or in the participatory process. So now we have a choice. And I would like to see all of Americans, regardless to their ethnicity, African American, European American, whatever, Spanish American, whatever, China, whatever, you have a right in this. So no more would I ever like to see a voter turnout as lax as we had here in this particular turnout. It was ridiculous.
Dr. Mitchell?
Yes, it's everyone's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility. And I heard one friend who said, when you go to vote, take a friend to vote. I think in Macon we have to take two friends to vote. But as Reverend Keller pointed out, don't complain about the outcome if you aren't a part of the participatory process.
Reverend Keller, we've got about 2 minutes before we end this program today. And I would like, over the last couple of minutes, first of all, for you to give us some information about this program that is planned January 1st for those listeners who did not have an opportunity to hear earlier. And perhaps, Dr. Mitchell, if we have some time left, to have you to speak to any of those issues that you feel are significant today in reference to the Emancipation Proclamation. Reverend Keller.
Well, Dr. Haney and Dr. Mitchell, as I said at the outset, that on January 1 at the Brooks Memorial United Methodist Church located on Brick Church Pike, there will be a Emancipation breakfast celebration. The Reverend James Thomas will be the speaker. The Reverend Alvin Goodwin is its pastor. We are asking for a donation of $7. And so we're asking everyone, let's fill up that particular facility as we continue to give loyalty to our creeds and beliefs.
Very good. Dr. Mitchell.
I think it's important that the whole world, everyone at this point is focused on freedom, from South Africa to Europe. Let it be known that as important as everything else in America, that we still celebrate freedom, that we celebrate a document which guarantees freedom, that the most important precept of America is still freedom for all.
Very good. And let me thank the two of you for coming by and giving us this very, very important information today about the Emancipation Proclamation. I think that it will sort of give our viewers some idea of the contributions that have been made by the African American community. And again, let me encourage you to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Good morning.